Hello, hello. What's up, y'all? It's Wednesday. So, what does that mean? That means it's time for LinkedIn Live with Nana. I am so excited today. One, it's Women's History Month. So, we always love that transition from Black History Month into Women's History Month. And if you are a Black woman, you just keep living your life. It's beautiful. So, I'm excited to kick things off on this March 1st with a very, very special guest. You see her popping on the screen, do you not? So listen, y'all already know if you are catching this live, drop in the comments, say hello, let me know where you're even tapping in from. And if you're catching this on the replay, drop replay in the comments in the chat because I want to know that too. So this is definitely going to be an amazing conversation today with my special guest, Heather Dowdy. And I have to just let the flex happen because y'all know if I'm bringing somebody on as a special guest, you know they fire. They fire, hot fire, okay? And so I'm just going to break down just a snippet of the bio of this phenomenal woman that you see on the screen. So Heather Dowdy is passionate about connecting dots across disability, race, tech, and faith. She currently leads product accessibility at Netflix, leveraging technology to connect people with disabilities to their next favorite story or game. In 2022, Heather was appointed to the U.S. Access Board by President Biden based on her expertise in accessibility and experience in fostering collaboration with the disability community. Previously, Heather served in several accessibility leadership roles at Microsoft and Motorola Mobility. As the oldest daughter of deaf parents, Heather is fluent in American Sign Language, and she loves using design thinking process to create solutions that improve usability for everyone. So if you can we please get a hand clap round of applause for Miss Heather Dowdy?
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Nana. I love this. I need this every morning. And for those of you who may not be viewing me on the screen, I am currently wearing a bright orange blazer, black and white striped shirt underneath with gold layered chains, black and white striped glasses, my funky glasses, and a black hat, also wearing red orange lipstick. Thank you so much for having me, Nana.
You are so welcome. And I just so appreciate you, who you are, and just even that sheer awareness, y'all. Like, I don't know about you, but the fact that Heather even just does what she naturally does, right? Like, that's just a natural part of her life in giving a verbal description of what she's wearing, right? You just when you're not in certain communities and spaces, you just don't think about things. So I'm just like sitting in that for a minute, and I'm sure there's potentially people who are watching and listening, like, let me just sit in that new experience that I just witnessed.
I mean, why not? If we're giving the visual and that's what we're talking about today, style, why not make sure that I'm inclusive for the different ways that folks might experience me? So, yeah, it's definitely something that we can all model in certain situations.
I love it. I love it so much. Well, we have some fabulous people in the chat saying hello. Colette is saying hello from Illinois, right? Hailing from your home state. Tisha's in here from VA. She's saying go Heather, and we got Chris Cynthia coming in from Philly. So we got some women in the situation this morning. So listen, y'all, we are talking today about personal style and leadership presence.
Yeah.
And I in particular reached out to Heather about really having this conversations for a few reasons. One, just the work that she does at that intersection around race, disability, tech, and faith, and her own career growth as a Black woman in the corporate space. And so I know a lot of her experience and what she's going to share today is going to resonate and be extremely helpful for you all. And of course, how the role of her personal style played in helping her position herself and navigate herself in that space. And for those who don't know, Heather is one of my clients.
Yes.
So let's just let that be known in case there was any doubt. So let me kick things off here, Heather. So, how would you describe leadership presence?
My personal leadership presence is that I am very purpose driven, very intentional. And I also believe that my superpower is making sure that people who feel marginalized and unseen are seen.
Mm.
And so that very much shows up in a one on one conversation, or if I'm speaking to a room of people or leading a team. And so it's just important for me to carry that intentionally in everything, in every conversation, and every person I meet.
That's huge. And ladies, as you're watching this, if you yourself are in a leadership position, drop leader in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm really curious where you all are in your own career progression. But like Heather was just sharing, that word around intention, there need to be a whole like dissertation about this word, and how much impact it can carry to help you get closer to your goals and cultivating those relationships in a genuine way, like Heather was sharing. Um so okay, so as let's talk, let's even maybe give people a little background stuff, because I know I read your resume, but let's talk a little bit about, and things that you've shared with me, just how you navigated your path of leadership. What did that look like for you? What challenges did you face? And how do you feel, what tools were helpful for you
Yeah.
in navigating those challenges?
Well, first, I just say for folks, listening, lean into that leadership role, lean into that word, because I think sometimes that can be scary, but it really means for me that I'm leading with influence. And because I represent a lot of family and friends at the intersection of disability, race, and faith, for me growing up and growing into my leadership, I was like, nobody else is going to do this. So, I'm thrown into it definitely at an early age, but then I had to accept it. I had to own it. I had to walk into it. And that started a journey of just lifelong learning. Okay, what am I really great at? Like I said, superpower is because I'm a CODA, child of deaf adults, it's very natural for me to just bridge two worlds. It's very natural for me to say, hey, you're not including everybody in the room just because they don't speak like you do. But this lifelong learning journey for me was like, okay, you come from a deaf family. Speaking might not be, your natural suit because we sign. So I had to lean into investing in myself
Mhm.
early on so that that wouldn't be a thorn in my side. So I invested in myself by doing Toastmasters and just practicing that muscle. And even today, I study read upon like how to be better at my craft. But that's one of the ways. But also for me, investing in myself with therapy and doing the work has
Mm.
been crucial because I know my story and I own it. And so I don't have to go around afraid that someone is going to expose it because I've sat with my story. And I
Mm.
think that that makes you a stronger leader because, again, it lets you know what your triggers are, it lets you know what your pitfalls are, but you also tend to have more empathy for the fact that we're all living out our stories, regardless of if you have the title of leader or not. We all have things and which have shaped us and shaped our perspective. But owning that story and being able to tell it was a process for me because in the disability community, you couldn't really talk about race, particularly before George Floyd. It was seen as divisive. In the Black community, you didn't really talk about disability because it's like, well, we don't know really, we don't want to be seen as weak. And we have a history around that, obviously,
Mm.
particularly in this country, around slavery and how ability was viewed and productivity was viewed. And so it's like, but I have people at the intersection. Where do they fit? And so again, going, hey, I got to do this and I've got to step into it because the opportunity is there. And more importantly, it fits me and it fits my gifts and my calling.
Mm. Did you catch the sermon? Because I was front row in the pews. Um, so many things that Heather touched on. Alethea said, "Accept it, own it, and lead into it." She with all the emojis. So much there in terms of that own it element, right? Like, what does that really look like, feel like, sound like? And the different ways in which you invested in yourself, the therapy, the Toastmasters, other investments that we'll chat about in a moment, right? And how all of these things came together to help you sort of put even the puzzle pieces together, maybe, if you will, right? Around how you build this path. So I love the notions of the intentionality, owning your space, and your story, and how, when I hear people talk about their personal story, I mean, to me, that's authenticity, right? Like, that is, when we talk about this huge big buzzword, I'm like, what is it about you? Like, talk about yourself. What's happening in your family, in your community, in your culture, in your world, right? And how do you weave that? And I think, the work that you're doing is literally the personification of that. So, y'all, if you are, let me know in the chat, like, drop them gems, because the gems have been dropped up in here this morning. Hey, Senior, good morning. And let me know too if you have any questions for Heather as well as we're having this conversation. Please drop them in the chat, because you can tell that Heather has a wealth of knowledge, as a leader. And if you know that having leadership presence is something that is top of mind for you right now, in a space you want to grow in, and figuring out how to tell your story, right? How to be intentional and lead with intention. Drop those questions in the chat. Okay, so you mentioned, you started talking about some of those investments that you were making, right? So tell me more about those investments and the strategic decisions that you realized you needed to make to, like, establish yourself as an expert and somebody whose voice deserved to be heard.
For me, just being in the companies that I've been in and doing the work, I've been trained that we don't, as Black women, we don't have another alternative. We have to be excellent. And
Mhm.
that's very weighty. It doesn't leave room for a lot of the healing that I had to pick up later, but it is what it is, right? And
Mhm.
so in doing the work and being excellent, I was definitely afforded like opportunities that allowed me to grow in terms of like leadership training. And one of the trainings that really stood out to me was Black Women Executive Training several years ago with the Executive Leadership Council, the ELC. And it was like, what am I doing here? I'm pretty sure I was probably one of the youngest in the room. I was doing a lot. I think I was in the back of the room, pumping breast milk, just doing a lot, but I was in the room and I was
Mhm.
picking up the gems. So it doesn't matter if you're at the front of the table or if you're in the back of the room, as long as you
Mm.
are in the room and you are utilizing that opportunity, I think great things can happen. And so that was just a very important part of what I continued to do after that, which was get executive coaching in terms of understanding how I show up in the workplace and how I show up on teams. And then also for me, of course, it was a couple years ago when we met, uh, and I realized I'm going somewhere. I don't know where. I'm evolving, and I've done so much work on the inside that I want my outside to match that. And so for
Mm,
me, another investment was definitely, working with you and working on my style so that I continue to feel comfortable in the skin that I was in. And what I love about what we've done is the fact that people have come to know me now. They've come to know me for these glasses. So when I have the glasses on, they're like, okay, this is gonna be a fun meeting, you know, or they know that I'm gonna come in with a pop of color. And I explain to people that for me, just like for a lot of people, sometimes getting up out of the bed physically in the morning is hard. Like my
mhm,
legs will have their own way. And so intentionally putting on a pop of color to brighten up my mood is why I do it. But then when I get in meetings with other people, it brightens up their mood too. And I
mm.
absolutely love that. So all of these investments have allowed me to shine so that I can continue to do my genius, which is help other people shine too.
Listen, I mean, I really don't have too much to say. As y'all can, as y'all can tell, the mic drops. We got thumbs up and all kinds of things happening over here. Um,
But I just want to say too, again, emphasizing that sometimes we think like when we get the job, that's when we should invest in ourselves. But do
mm,
the work, sis. Like, you're going somewhere.
yeah,
So why not look like
yes.
before you get there? Why not set that intention and that direction and that energy? And as has been said on the internet a lot lately, you pray to catch the bus and then you run as fast as you can towards that bus.
Mm.
And so I just want to encourage folks that you don't have to wait for the particular job for what you already envision, that you are evolving and that you are already the leader and your environment has to adjust to you. Because quite frankly, that's what accessibility is. It is about the environment not being set up and built to accommodate you. It has nothing to do with you. And so when we get the environment right, the thing is accessible.
Okay, we got to break down the analogy that you just shared just now, because I was like, okay, hold on. Um, the environment not being set up in a way that is going to set you up to be at your best.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know you've ever been in a situation where the environment did not support you being at your best, drop a yes in the comments for me. Okay? Because I need to go ahead and drop mine. All right. Because, as Black women and, and as women as a whole, in recognition of Women's History Month, like there are so many spaces that we enter where we are expected to not speak, not have opinion, that oftentimes we are overlooked to not be the leader in the room. We're thought to be the assistant,
Oh, yeah.
right? We
Oh,
thought to
yeah.
be like the junior to whoever, senior, whomever, right? Walking into rooms and people going around the room shaking people's hands and inadvertently missing yours. Like like
Yeah.
all of these crazy macro and micro aggressions that happen that are all, especially in the work environment, right? In the workplace. And it's so interesting, when you frame it that way, especially in the light of accessibility. It's like, man, just there are just so many more similarities
There
than
are.
there are differences.
Like, we should know what a microaggression is as women, as Black women. And so, and a microaggression for a person with a disability is logging on to the internet and the website is not accessible. So you basically saying you didn't build this for me to access it. So there are so many similarities, but really our perspective on what a leader is, what a leader looks like, our perspective on what disability is and what disability looks like has to shift. I remember being in a training many years ago, and the title of the training came back to me a couple weeks ago was The Unexpected Leader. And I'm like, why am I sitting in this training? You know? And then it came back to me. It was like, oh yeah, of course I'm the unexpected leader when I walk into the room. Of course I've had folks say, are you taking notes? And of course I've had to say, don't invite me to that meeting until, you have something that's pertinent for me, that's related. Like I have better use of my time.
Listen, like, please catch this, Black women. Like the levels of I'm just saying flat out disrespect, inconsideration, like, and just blatant assumptions about what you do and what you're capable of. People will put that and assert that on you constantly. Yeah. Right. And so, some of the things that I'm hearing Heather share is just really how, for her, in building this experience, like how you're going to experience her, how others are going to experience Heather Dowdy in the workplace, right? How people are going to understand what that looks and feels like is something that she's been actively cultivated. Like, listen, we had the drops, we had the Toastmasters, we talking about therapy, we talking about executive coaching. Heather's worked with me in terms of her style and wardrobe. Like, if you know that you're on a leadership path, please understand that the learning element is non-negotiable. The investment element is non-negotiable. And really, it should be for anybody who's a human being, but especially in this space. And especially, the specialties get even deeper when you're women of color, when you're a Black woman, because there's just so many other things that are stacked up to see you fail. There's so many spaces that are designed without you in mind. And they don't, and they want to remain that way. And they're like, diversity, equity, inclusion, yeah, belonging, yeah, we hear you, but I'm gonna just go over here with Tom and let him do the things and bring him into the fold repeatedly. And then you get a sea of Toms and Brians, and you're like, well, can we get some more Heathers in the room? Yeah. Because nobody's gonna be able to tell the story that Heather has like Heather, because she's only one. Right. So I'm hearing this big. If you know you need to advocate for yourself, like, drop your own testimonial in the chat. If you're at work and you know you can't do all that, drop emoji in the chat. Let us know that you are still rocking with us, and sharing your own.
I could also speak too, because I just sense, and I've been there, and I have seasons too where it's like, oh, this person is telling me to do more work, and I got enough work. My plate is full. I can't do anymore. I just encourage folks to think about what your core values are, and how doing the work can make it easier for you. So one of my core values is family. I'm a wife and mom of 3. And so investing in myself in those ways allowed me to continue to live out my calling and my purpose and continue to be fulfilled in the work that I was doing. But even with the style piece, I remember coming to you and I'm like, look, I just need to make this easy. I don't have a lot of time in the morning. Like, with 3 kids, I don't have the time. And so I want to learn what outfits and what clothes complement my body, because again, I'm a lifelong learner. So I want to learn how to make this my own. I don't want you to just do things for me. I want a teacher, and I will give you credit. For me, is so important that whoever I collaborate with is also a teacher at heart, and that is certainly what you are. But yeah, for those folks that are just like, she's just telling me to do more work. No, I'm telling you that you're worth it. And I'm telling you that there is some work that will allow you to do things more with ease and to show up in a way that really values who you already are as a mom, as a leader, as a partner, as a wife, whatever the case may be.
Yes, yes. It's so important. And let me and tell me to just say this too. Like, Heather is so bomb because she does want to learn. Like, I'm definitely in the style space. I'm like, I'm gonna try to share with y'all every single thing I know. Like, I want you to be able to walk into your closet, put your outfits together, and feel confident doing it by yourself. Like, I got you. Send me a text, send me a picture. I might make a couple tweaks, but I need you on that 80 to 90% that, like, I know this is banging. But what would Nana say? Would she say roll the sleeve, or is the necklace right? Like, but you got, the sauce is
Right.
there, right? You got the ingredients in the gumbo popping. It tastes good, right? And so, that's always my goal. And Heather just comes to the table knowing herself so clearly. And I think that's such a key ingredient around why people, even when they see you, it all makes sense, as I believe, and they want to get to know you and they want to hear from you, right? And all of those other elements start coming to the table, and they're like, okay, well, talk to us. We want to hear more about you, because
Yeah.
it's jumping off the screen that, like, this person is really having a severe level of conviction within herself around her values. She already done stated, family is my value, top tier, right? And so that entering into a conversation with someone, and you're able to make some relationships, and it's more genuine. But I think it's some folks, miss that element of really knowing yourself, your
Mm,
values, and what matters to you so clearly. Like that is step one, at the root, at the core of achieving a personal style that's going to be your own. If you don't do that, you're just going to be mimicking everybody else. It's going to be a hot mess. Stop, pause, reflect, get on back.
yeah, for
But
sure.
we have a couple comments in the chat. So Atisha says, I have advocated for myself and others relentlessly as the only Black and female leader in so many spaces. Absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. You
Yeah,
know, we're not here negotiating our value, our price, none of that. You bring value in the work that you do. You bring value in the excellence that you bring to the work that you do. And so I just would encourage you to continue to lean on that and point back to that, because folks cannot negotiate that away.
that's right. Yeah. People will try you. They will try.
Ooh.
Lord, they
Like
will
you
try.
said, the whole are you the secretary? And nothing wrong with being the secretary, if that's your role, but just to assume that, particularly for me, with
Mhm.
an engineering background, I got that a lot of times. "Oh, you must be here to take the
Mhm.
notes. You must you must be here." And then the biggest fear is like, "Oh my goodness, she could she can never be my boss. Like, I'm not reporting to a Black woman. That's just a no." And that's the fear, right? And so you have
Right.
to be aware of that in the room. And so, yes, I want to be relatable. So let's focus on the work. But at the same time, I'm not hiding who I am. And I'm not hiding who I
Mhm.
represent and what I'm here to do. At one of those ELC trainings, I remember, and it just stuck with me. One guy was like, "I'm not here to change hearts and minds. I'm here to be effective.
Mm.
My work speaks for itself. The way that I build
Mhm.
relationships based on who I am authentically speaks for itself.
Mhm.
In terms of people will want to work with you based on you showing up as you."
There it is. There it is. Okay. Anika's with you. She said, I'm not hiding who I am. We have, this one says LinkedIn user. Sorry, I can't see your name. But feel free to drop your name in the chat if you want to identify yourself. But it says, and who told us that a suit is professional? I know a lot of not so successful people in life that wear suits. I love pushing the boundaries of what is considered professional. Uh, Listen, you over here talking to the folks who know and understand about expanding that whole notion of what is professional and pushing it out of the boundary zone. I know, and Heather, do you want to speak to even how the role that your style has played in how you view professionalism around your style and how that has even evolved in terms of your style and what you may
Yeah.
have thought professional looked like for Heather 10 years ago versus what it looks like now?
Yeah. Hey, Maria. Thanks for dropping your name. Oh, my goodness. I
Yeah.
told Nana I love the whole before and after pictures, right? Where you have to look back and you be like, did I really think that that was professional? But when I would look back, it was always so contained. It was always, don't rock the boat. Wear this pale, wear these khakis, all of this other stuff. And so I have to look back and go, okay, she did the thing, but was she thriving though?
Mm,
And when I look at, my style now, when I look at the fact that I'm part of the entertainment and tech business within Netflix, and what we work with a lot, we work with folks who are creatives. And so, how can I be around folks, and how can I infuse my own creativity? Um, and so I think that we all are created to be creative. And I
mm,
think that it looks different for each of us. And as I mentioned, I have an engineering background. I love strategy, so I can get real serious and real focused in a minute. But my style has evolved to allow me to be creative. And
mhm,
there is something so freeing about that, which is another one of my core values. All three of my core values are family, faith, and freedom. And so my style now says I'm a lot freer and it's going to continue to evolve. And
mm.
that's part of the creative process.
My style now says I'm a lot freer. Oh, I'm about to put that on a t-shirt. I love that so I love it so much. Like, and listen, this is what you saw Heather pop out with the values. Okay, family, faith, freedom,
Yeah.
right? Clear, knowing yourself, knowing your values, right? And it just becomes so much more easy to translate that in your life. You're getting snaps and yeses all up in the chat. Um, I want you to expand upon, and you touched on a little earlier too, around how that freedom and bringing that creativity into your style. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna take it a step back because I want to touch on something that Maria was talking about around the professional element. So, a lot of women will feel the need to conform,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And conformity can look like a whole lot of different things. It can mean code switching, and you feel like you have to talk in a certain way to be seen as professional, right? It could be looking like wearing all suits, all grays and navies and certain color palettes, right? But to your point earlier, it looks like, oh, here's an environment that wasn't designed for me,
Mm.
but I really feel like I need to be in this environment, but I'm going to try to alter and change myself to fit in it. How did you navigate that notion? Or maybe even what were some of your aha moments when you were like, I don't need to conform. I need to actually have some more freedom and kind of set the pace in a different direction.
Because I wasn't comfortable in my skin. I'm conforming for other people. And as Black women, they're gonna find something to talk about. So let me give you something to talk about. Let me give you what I want you to talk about. So if I show up with these glasses, then obviously I'm going to be memorable. You're going to be talking about that. And perhaps that's intentional. Perhaps
Mhm.
I'm giving you what I want you to talk about, what I want you to remember. And so that really what it is. It's the freedom of like, and we talk about this, and I love the people that can say, hey, I love the skin I'm in. And I'm here to say that it's been a process. It's been a journey for some
Mm.
of us. And some of that looks like, let me change up my clothes to fit who I am and who I'm becoming, because there's still more in me. There's still more creativity, but I'm having fun with it. And that's really what I wanted in this season of my career. I've done the whole keep your head down, they'll notice you, and sometimes they don't. I've
Mhm.
done the whole, don't speak too much, did I say it the right way? And guess what? I found out that when I do open my mouth, somebody needed to hear it.
Mm. I'm just letting that sit for a minute because like Heather said, it's so much about the growth. It doesn't happen overnight. Like it takes time. And you got to almost like self-check yourself, like stop. What's happening right now? Like, am I changing up my voice? Like, am I really saying what I want to say right now? Like when you're in your closet in the morning, are you putting on something that you're like, is this actually aligned with me? It makes me feel fun? Or is this something that I'm just going through the motions and I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna be like everybody else in the room? Like when Heather step in the room, what she say? She gonna be memorable, y'all. She gonna be memorable, okay?
Right. I worked on what I'm going to say to be memorable, and how to deliver it. And I'm also going to have the whole package with it. Yeah. I also think about, as I mentioned, faith is another core value, but kingdom living to me is, I very much believe, in the scripture that says, love God and love others as yourself. So that's actually love God, love yourself, and then love others. And if I don't like looking at myself in the morning, I ain't checked out how I looked, I just threw something on. How can I show up loving you? When they do that, y'all let me know where that's at, because I really do I have to take me in the morning. And I wasn't doing that as a
Yeah,
mom, as someone who is a multi hyphenate and got all these things going on. It was just like,
yeah,
okay, let me throw this on and let me go. But
yeah.
that intentional moment to be like, okay, can we create something that lifts my mood and lifts other people's moods? And have fun doing it. I actually remember last year I had hosted a public screening as part of Netflix for the disability community. And so it was so great because I love just having a platform that puts a light on disabled creatives. And so there were lots of members from the disability community and members who weren't just coming to check it out. And we were in New York for that particular screening.
Mhm.
And so I was dressed up because I was moderating the panel, and folks came out and dressed up, and it was such a vibe. And so
Mhm.
afterwards, people were meeting with me and talking with me and wanting to take pictures. And one woman was like, it was a sister too. She was like, you don't even look like the person on the screen. You look so fabulous. And I'm like, because you're fabulous too. And she just kind of lit up. And it's like, that's the energy that I want to bring, that I feel fabulous and I want to make you feel fabulous too. I want to spread that. But it does start with me taking an intentional look at me first.
Yes. Yeah. Listen, I say this to Heather all the time. When I have the privilege of being able to talk to Heather all the time because she's my client. But every time I'll be like, where is my virtual shoe so I can throw it at her? Because like Heather just be dropping it down and you just be like, yeah, exactly. Like what you
Yeah.
said. It makes complete sense. And I think that's what sets people apart. That's what can set you apart as a woman. That's what can set you apart as a thought leader, as an expert, as somebody who just has a unique perspective that people are going to lean and tap into because you understand, like, I have a deep love for myself and I know how to put that together and how to let that light shine. but then I also want that for you. And so when we, again, when you experience me, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get somebody who's going to be pouring into you, who's going to be like, I want you to be fabulous. I want you to be great. Like, we're going to learn, but we also going to do our work, and we're going to get down to business and get what we got to do. And so that we can affect change, right? Like, people can embrace all of those different elements of you, and all of those pieces are really key for you to have the kind of leadership presence that you ultimately desire. You get all kinds of yeses, total package, let's go. Anika was saying, when was the moment I woke up? As a thoughtful question. I love that
Yeah.
that spin on it.
Because girl, you've been sleeping on you.
Come on.
Sleeping on all that greatness.
Come
all
on.
that you were called to do.
Come on.
And the outfit and the style is just one less thing to worry about. I'm not stepping into a room and then going like adding on to, hey, some people call it imposter syndrome. I find that really hard for me as a Black woman, given all the work I've had to do, but whatever the case may be, whatever you're feeling, and then having to go, well, do I look the part? Do I feel good in my skin? And you're starting to worry about that. And all of that is taking away your energy to be creative, your energy to be strategic, your energy to spend more time with your kids. Like, just put the outfit is together. I know it looks good on me. Or I got a little period pudge, I know how to dress that up.
Right.
For me.
Right. That's the realest ever. And this is, y'all, and let this be fun. Like Heather is saying, like, style is fun. Like, anybody, when I talk to folks, I'm like, why are you struggling? Why is there such just resistance there? Like, that has to be a moment where you get to be creative, where you get to have some excitement, where it's just you in your closet. And if you already know, if you ain't got the pieces that's right and that's popping, we can talk about how we can do that. But when you do, that's what this looks like. I'm going to share, hopefully, Heather, that you feel this is okay. But Heather and I were texting last night, and she was like, "Oh, this is the look I'm going, put together for the live." And I was like, "Girl, that's fabulous." And I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe you could do that." I was like, "Well, put those safety pins on that blazer. That would look tough too, right?" And then she was like, "This has been great." She's like, "I was having a stressful moment, and I was able to go in my closet and have some fun and just relieve some stress and even get myself ready for tomorrow. So this is awesome. Thank you." And I was just like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was. My kids were being kids yesterday. Sometimes we just feel like the whole world is falling apart, right? Because that's a big and core value of mine. It's like, oh my goodness. And it was like I went into my closet, and you've also taught me to put on some music. I don't know why we put on music for everything, to take a shower, to brush our teeth. I put on some music, and I just started like putting things together, and it was such a stress reliever. Like, no kids were in my closet at the time. But I was having fun, and I did relieve a little bit of stress. And so thank you for showing me that it doesn't have to be so stressful.
I love that so much. Okay, so let's just talk about visibility around leadership presence, because I know you've shared so many things with me around your journey, the space that you're in, and how certain people didn't see you once upon a time.
Right.
But now all of a sudden they got bifocals on, they got X-ray vision, and they all up in your corner.
Right. No, that's true. The folks are just like, oh, she just shot up overnight. What? Maybe the whole package allows you to feel that way. But there are folks that work with me knowing that I have put in the work, knowing that I have been passed over, knowing like folks have said I have tried to advocate for myself. And God's timing is everything. And I believe that he loves for people to be hidden until the exact moment. but you know that you've always been there. You know that you've had this vision and you didn't know exactly where you were going to be. But when you arrive at a milestone, you're like, this didn't happen overnight. Choosing myself, choosing to invest in myself, that's work. That's on top of the kids and ministry and work and all these other things. That's the extra. But yeah, there are folks that are just like, oh, this is just an overnight success. And where did she come from? And that's why the relationships are so important, because there are people like, no, I've worked with her and she's been consistent the whole time. And we are so happy for her to be getting her flowers.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Please, because everybody else, and you got some energy drainers, you got some energy savers. Like, there are the people who will be out here just poking and prodding at you, like it's their part of their calling in the morning, to just be like, I'm in a place where I'm not happy with what's happening with me. So let me say all kinds of things to you, and it don't have anything to do with where you are and what you got going on. Like, you over here rising and doing, like Heather continues to say, doing the work, doing the work for you to grow.
I remember back in college, and it's happened a lot throughout my career, particularly being in tech, where, you work with people and typically they happen to be white males.
Right.
And then, you might do a project together. You got to work day in and day out, and then they can pass you in the hallway like they don't work with you all the time. Can't even say like they don't see you. But I'm a Black woman. I know you see me, And now it's like, oh, we see you. And so if you're not rooted and grounded in who you are, that'll be a head spin. Like, oh, I'm being seen now. So what? No. You've seen me the whole time.
Yes.
You've seen me the whole time.
Yes. Yes.
And now it's about who gets access to me.
Oh, come on. Because just because you see me don't mean you're going to get no access. Talk about it. Talk about the boundaries. Talk about it.
That's a whole nother.
That's a whole other thing, y'all. We gonna put a pin in that, okay? Right? No, this is so good. Listen, y'all, drop in the chat. Let us know what takeaways you are getting from Heather in this conversation. I'm just like, okay, I'm soaking it up to even think about how I'm coming to the table and different boundaries I need to set, and making sure that there are people like Heather just said, like people will act like they don't see you. And then ultimately, sometimes too, it's like when you start to see yourself a little bit more, then all of a sudden I feel, oh my gosh. And you're like, I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. Like,
come on.
Okay, like this is me. I'm excellent. I've always known it, right? And so, what does it look like when you continue to do the work and invest yourself for that to even grow and expand even stronger, and you focus less on them, they, whoever they are, and you get more internal, because that's another thing that I'm hearing from Heather, is just how much is happening internally within her, that she was making active choices in terms of what she's doing with her time and her resources, so
and
that
energy, because the access is, my people know who I am. My people know, those that are my people, right? And I think that has been a process too. It's just like, okay, you can spend your energy and drain it on, like you said, energy drainers, or you can stand out so that your people know where to find you.
Stand out so your people know where to find you. Oh, that's a bar. Please stand out so people know where to find you.
Yeah. Know who your people are. Like, I loved, the Super Bowl. Did y'all see the deaf sign language performer
so
that
good.
went viral? I didn't even have to post about it. because there were so many people that were just like, Heather, we saw this and we thought of you, which means that I am in my purpose, that I am
Yeah.
standing out, and people are very clear as to who I'm called to and what I represent.
Yeah.
And so it's a beautiful thing to stand out so that your people know, hey, this is where you can come. This is where we
Right.
can work together.
Right. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Such a conversation. Like we could be here for a good another moment because I had a mad other questions happening. But just to wrap up, I want to know what guidance would you offer to the women of color, especially the Black women who might be watching or listening to this, and they're maybe struggling to advocate, to feel seen, to be heard at work, and to really establish themselves as authentic in their leadership. What kind of guidance would you provide for them?
Well, I would say to many folks, the guidance I give you is the guidance that I have to lean into myself. And that is to trust yourself. Like Nana and I have had several conversations when I'm putting together something, and she's like, you got it. You just got to trust yourself, and embody what you are envisioning. And so for many of us, we feel
Mm,
gaslit in the workplace, or like, did they mean this? Or, I feel this way or whatever. But we've got to trust ourselves. Um, Most of the time, yes, that's what happened. Other times, assume positive intent. That's the training.
mhm,
But we have to trust ourselves and we have to bet on ourselves. And the way to do that when it's difficult for us to do that internally is that we have to be surrounded by community,
mhm.
coaches like Nana and the other folks that I've mentioned, that have invested, that I've used to invest in myself. And so trust in yourself and build that community that will continue to lift you up.
Absolutely. 1,000%. 1,000,000,000%. Um, and I think Tisha shared this in the comments. Heather is reaffirming my experiences, and I'm feeling seen this morning. That's what we trying to do. We trying to help Black women be seen. Like the more we see each other, the more sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Right? Go do your thing. Be bad, be beautiful, be bold, do all of it. Um, Heather, tell the good people where they can find you if they want to connect with you. And let me say this, in case you didn't know and you're watching this, you're like, I love everything that Heather said. Guess what? Heather's a speaker. Okay.
Yeah.
In case that wasn't obvious, because clearly she could be providing some amazing insights for your organization, for your company, for your people, around all the things: leadership, authenticity, of course, disability, race, tech. So if you love what you're hearing, Heather, tell them how they can find you.
Yeah, definitely. Would love to work with folks. So you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. I'm most active on LinkedIn as Heather Dowdy, and on Instagram as Heather D Builds, Builds.
Okay, perfection. And I'm going to drop those in the chat too, so people know what's really good. And then last but not least, I'm going to give a shout out to Rhonda Khan, because we were both in Rhonda's public speaking program. And that is how we got connected, because Heather and I prescribe to the same things. We invest in ourselves. I invest in myself in the same manner. And especially with other women that look like me. And so I want to give a shout out and a thank you so much for you coming here and just being you. And just sprinkle them gems on the people this Wednesday.
Let me tell you, Nana will build you up, but in a good way. So I love it.
I love it so much. All right, y'all. So we are going to wish you a fabulous March, a fabulous Women's History Month. And I hope that you are able to, just lean in to some of the wisdom and some of the experiences that Heather shared with you today to get you inspired to step fully into your magic as a woman this month. All right, y'all have a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.